as a people pleaser, you have to get to the stage where the fear of losing your peace is greater than the fear of confrontation. Hey guys, I'm Chez and this is Chez M0i. Welcome back to my channel guys, hope you're all doing well. Today's a different kind of video. Just wanted to sit down and have a chat, so I'm going to call these type of videos Chit Chats with Chez. And the aim is just to do a bit of self-reflection. I came across a quote a few days ago and it says, when you're a people pleaser, everyone around you is happy except you. And this is something that I have been able to relate to in my past. The woman that you see before you today was not always like this. I would have never been able to come in front of the camera and talk like this. I grew up in an age before the internet was even a thing. There was no YouTube, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram. There was no social media of any form. But I don't think that if I was growing up today in this digital age, in this image conscious age, I don't know if I'd be able to cope. Because even when there was no internet, there was still anxiety. And I used to suffer from anxiety in my adolescence and my early 20s. And it was a result of this need to be liked. And anyone that knows me today, they know that I am so far removed from that girl that I once was. Today, I don't care if you don't like me. Today, I'm not interested in your opinion. You can have your opinion, but it doesn't interest me. Today, I am not looking to follow other people. I take my own path. And yes, I do have an attitude. I have an attitude about loads of things, but not in a ghetto way, not in a ratchet way. Things that I used to tolerate before, I stopped tolerating them a long time ago. And I recognized, as I got older, that phase in my adolescence and early 20s, I was a people pleaser. So I looked up the definition of a people pleaser, and this is what came up. According to WebMD, a people pleaser is typically someone everyone considers helpful and kind. People pleasers tend to do anything possible to avoid conflict, even if it means turning into an entirely different person. Your worth depends on how others see you. People pleasers need validation from others to feel good about themselves. They can go to extremes to earn words of praise from others. I consider myself quite a confident person, but I was not always like this. In my late teens, I became acutely aware that I was not liked. I was not even tolerated. In fact, I was actually hated. And I think I can point to when that started, and it was around the age of, let me say, about 18. There was someone that I had met about 3 years before, and that person decided to come and live up in London. And the sort of, I'm not going to say friendship group, because these people are not my friends, but we moved in, the circle that we moved in, they sort of gravitated toward this person immediately. And when they found out that me and this person were very close, we were just friends, very, very close friends, the claws came out. And I'm not gonna lie and say that I was expecting it. It was literally a shock to my system, because this environment in which I familiarized myself with these people, this was supposed, well, in my mind, it was supposed to be a safe place. It was supposed to be a safe haven. It was supposed to be a sanctuary almost. You know, there was so much stuff going on at home. I was trying to get through my A-levels with the stuff that was going on. Even to this day, my mum is like, how did you manage to get through your exams with all of that stuff going on? I know how to compartmentalize things in my mind. I try not to let things overlap into different aspects of my life. So when I encountered this animosity, when I encountered this hatred, it really had a profound effect on me. And what shocked me even more, that this was coming from people that looked like me. And these people were black girls. And yeah, I am going to say it because it's the truth. I'm not going to make it up. And I think this is what made me even more determined not to confine my friendship circle to a specific type of person, a specific group of people. So essentially, I found out that these people that didn't like me, they were actual witches, for want of a better word. Then they were not nice people. And if I'm honest, 30 odd years later, they're still not nice. But how they affected me then, they don't affect me at all now. It's almost as if the gates of hell opened and these demons were unleashed into these people. And they did it with such vim and vigor, such vitriol and ferocity. I can't think of any other V words at the moment, but I think you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. And I don't believe that you're out there and you haven't experienced what I've experienced. You know, this clouded, I'm not even going to say clouded my judgment, because this is what I see on a day-to-day basis. You know, as we get older as black women. I can't really say that of my friends from other races and nationalities, because I've never experienced that type of behaviour from them. In all the years that I've known them, they've never shown me that that's how they are. It's always black women. And I've always wondered why. I'm not going to say we, because I'm not like that. I just wonder where that comes from. I wonder where it comes from, because it's literally demonic. That's a conclusion that I've come to. I wanted to fit in so much with these people. Before my friend came and lived in London, these guys didn't know who I was. I was invisible to them. I didn't want attention from them, but I felt invisible. And I don't know whether that was a good thing or a bad thing at the time, but you know, as a teenager, you'd want to fit in. As a young person, you want to fit into your environment. You want to be accepted into these groups. I always knew that I was the odd one out. You know, I've always been told that I'm weird. I've always been told that. And I came to embrace that, because in my weirdness, I don't have to follow people. I don't do what people expect me to do. I don't say what people expect me to say. And they can take me or leave me as far as I'm concerned. But I never had this attitude as a young person. I wanted to fit in so much that I allowed these demons, these witches, to devalue me. I allowed them to make me feel small. I allowed them to make me feel like nothing, because they came from large, well-known families, and I was informed that one of these people said, I don't come from good stock. I didn't know I was cattle. I didn't know I was branded, you know, with anything. This is the first time I've heard this phrase. And the thing is, I mean, I heard this recently, but it made me laugh, because I thought, I know you, I know your reputation, I know your family. Even now, there are things that you don't know that I know about you and your family. You know, because I've had evidence, I've had proof. Not that I've asked for it or looked for it, it's just been presented to me. So I had to laugh and I had to say, wow, okay, you have no idea about the family that I come from. You know, there's so much I could say about my family, but I don't need to. When you know where you come from, and when you know that you are secure in who you are, you don't need to boast and brag. You don't need to show off about members of your family or yourself. You don't need to. These people don't know, they've known me in terms of length of time, but they don't know me as a person, and I have nothing to prove. I'm a big woman. These people invariably, some of these women are now married with children, but mentally they are still back where they were about 30 odd years ago. As I remove myself from that toxic environment, you know, around the age of 19, 20, I still had that intense level of anxiety, you know, that I had during my adolescence, and I carried it into adulthood. Even when I was making adult choices, responsible adult decisions, such as purchasing a property in my early 20s, when no one else was doing that, when it seemed impossible for people to do that. Even now, I mean, you think it's bad now, people were saying that then it was such a hard thing to do, but because I don't listen to people and their opinions, and I don't follow trends, I already knew what I wanted to do. And I think that's why people always label me weird, because I don't follow what the masses are doing. You know, not to say that I'm anything special, but I've always been of this mindset that when you see people going in a certain direction, go in the opposite direction. Because invariably these people have not sat down and thought why they're doing the things that they're doing. Whereas I always make a conscious effort to think about the things that I'm doing. So as I say, even when I was making these adult decisions, I still felt that I was not good enough. I mean, good enough for what, really? Because I hadn't seen these people when I'd left that environment, but just in myself, not thinking that I was good enough, always thinking that I needed to do more. And the anxiety got so bad that it was almost like this oppressive feeling that came down on me. It's always like there was a dark grey, thick cloud hovering above my head. I don't know whether any of you guys have felt that feeling. I think I'm going to call it depression, because there were days when I just did not, I couldn't face things. I had a good job, I had a car, I had my own property. On the face of it, life was good, but in my head, it was just this feeling of emptiness and not being fulfilled, brought on by this anxiety, which made me want to please people more. You know, because I didn't want to have to deal with confrontation. So that's why when I you know, showed you earlier the definition of a people pleaser, those are the elements that I recognized in myself. Even with all of that, like I said, I wasn't seeing these people, but it was the residual effects of how they made me feel, because you know, I was looked down upon. And it just got to a stage where I remember I got home from work one evening and I sat down. Then these thoughts came to me, like, who are these people anyway? Why do you place so much importance on them? They don't matter to you. Who are they? Why does it matter what they think? They're not paying your mortgage, they're not paying your bills, then they couldn't care less whether you drop dead. In fact, some of them will be glad if you drop dead. It's almost like a light bulb went off in my mind, as if to say, if you changed your perspective on these things, on this anxiety that you feel, what's the worst that could happen? If you decided that you are not going to say yes to everyone and everything, if you are not going to do things that you didn't want to do, how would you feel? What's the worst that can happen? It got to the stage where I then came to the conclusion that, you know what, the worst that can happen is that these people do not speak to me ever again, or they literally, you know, don't like me. But the fact is, they never liked me anyway, so I haven't lost anything. And that's basically how I live my life. I weigh up the pros and cons of a situation, and then I evaluate what is the worst that can happen. If there's no risk of death, then I know which road I'm going to take. I cared too deeply about what people thought, and that's a dangerous place to be. As I got older, I realised that this is just nonsense. This is just nonsense. How am I going to live my life like this? Just living to please other people, just so that they can like me. And like I said, the person that I was then, I am not that now. I'm a completely different person. And I recognise that I've come a very long way, because I've faced serious challenges. I've gone through various different things, and I've come out on the other side. The same, however, cannot be said for these people, because I've recently bumped into them. Not bumped into them. It's become a thing where, because there are relatives involved, we end up at certain functions. And it makes me laugh now to see that they have not changed. Some of them are bending over backwards to make my acquaintance again, and I always have my guard up with them. And some of them couldn't hate me more if they tried. Especially when they see me with this other person, because we've been friends for decades and decades, and it's almost like if they see us together, it's a huge problem. Seeing me on my own is a problem by itself, but seeing me with this other person triggers something in them that, you know, their behaviour hasn't changed. Do I feel sorry for them? No, I don't. Do I pray for them? Yeah, I do. But I don't feel sorry for them, because they're big people. I pray that even that their minds will be transformed, that their minds will be renewed. If you are a people pleaser, you have to get to the stage where you recognise that your peace is more important than the fear of confrontation. I'm not a confrontational person, but if you come to me with rubbish, trust me, I am going to confront you. I am not afraid of confrontation. I'm not the one to initiate it, but I'm not going to put up with rubbish from anyone. And when people recognise that, they actually leave me alone, because they know I'm not that person anymore. And as a people pleaser, you have to get to the stage where the fear of losing your peace is greater than the fear of confrontation. That's where you need to get to. Because if you don't get to that stage, you will be forever in this trap, this vicious circle of pleasing this person, pleasing this person, pleasing this person. Mentally and physically, you'll be destroyed, because that situation is too stressful for you to carry. The anxiety is too much. The anxiety is too much for you to bear. And at the end of the day, these people don't care about you. You have to understand, the people that you are bending over backwards to please, they don't care. They do not care about you. In fact, most of the time, they don't remember your name. This need to be liked. Like I said, I went through that phase. But I've seen people older than me that are still in that phase. And without any judgment, I just wonder to myself, with all the life experience that you've gone through, why do you still feel this need to be liked? Because the people that you're pleasing, they have their own insecurities as well. But it's just your perception of them as something, as someone greater than you. I don't know whether it's a thing of, you think that by associating with them or by saying yes to them all the time, it gives you a benefit. But what benefit are you receiving from trying to please these people? Like I said, they don't like you. They don't They don't care about you. And this is why I've always said to my daughter, and I said it from an early age, I've mentioned in a previous video, in age appropriate language, I let her know very clearly that as she gets older, people will not like her, not because of anything that she's done or anything that she's not done, not because of anything that she said or not said, but just because she is her and they are them. And if you actually sat down and asked these people that you're trying to please so much, why they don't like you, because let's face it, at the end of the day, they don't like you. If you ask them why they don't like you, they will never be able to tell you. And that's something that you need to bear in mind. You need to free yourself from the opinions of others, because what they think does not determine the course of your life. And these are hard lessons that I've had to learn. I'm not against therapy, but I've never had the opportunity to go to a therapist. Would I go if necessary? If it was 20 years ago, possibly, because there were things that I'd gone through then. Not to say that I'm not going to go through things in my later life, but I believe I now have the tools to manage what else may happen. You know, I couldn't even begin to tell you the things that I've experienced in my personal life. If therapy was available to me then, yes, I would have jumped at the opportunity. But I've had to learn these hard lessons, and you know, I know that I've not gone through these things for no reason. There's a reason why I've gone through them. First of all, to learn from them and to pass on what I've learned to other people, and that starts with the people closest to me, like my child. I don't want her to experience what I experienced at her age. You know, she's 19 now. I don't want her to experience what I experienced when I was 19, because it was a horrible, dark place. And, you know, as the years roll by, people are becoming more and more wicked. But if I can give her the tools from now to equip herself, not to say that she won't encounter difficulties, but she is now in a better position than I was when I was at her age, and that's my objective. You know, my aim with these videos, these chats, especially these chit chats with Chez, the aim is not for me to get loads and loads of views and, you know, be popular. Like I said, I don't care if you don't like me. My validation doesn't come from social media. My validation doesn't come from the number of likes or subscribers, or, you know, it doesn't. I'm too old for all of that. My currency is not this. My currency is not social media. I don't get my validation from it. It's nice if you know, if you like things that the content that I put out, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna die if you don't like anything I put out. You don't like it, you don't like it. If you can relate to it, I hope to provide more content. I'm not a guru. I can only share with you my insights with regards to certain aspects of life, and that's the whole point of this channel, to enhance, enrich and elevate aspects of life. And I'll continue to say it because that's the aim of this channel. When I'm speaking to you, I have my daughter in my mind. I don't know how old you are. You could be younger than me, you could be older than me, you could be my daughter's age. But if you haven't gone through anything like this, you will go through something like this in your life at some stage. And if you have gone through it, have you come out on the other side? What were your experiences? How have you managed to cope? How have you managed to overcome this disease to please? I've heard it described like that, a disease to please. And it's so true, because it mentally destroys you and it physically destroys you. Having said all of that, let's see if we can come up with some solutions to help you stop being a people pleaser, because really that's the aim. This is not me just because I haven't got anything to do, just expending the air out of my lungs to just say stuff about what I've gone through. I'm actually hoping to provide you with solutions. Let's explore some of these. I've got about 13 that I've come across, so let's get into this now. How to stop being a people pleaser. Number one, be true to yourself instead of trying to fit in. Like I said, that was my issue. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be accepted. We all want to be accepted, but there comes a point when you have to understand that not everyone will like you. Once you get that into your head, you'll find the process a lot easier to extricate yourself from these groups that you're trying to please. Do you like everyone? If you say yes, that you like everyone, I know that you're being economical with the truth, shall we say? Because I don't like everyone. Everyone doesn't like me. You know, there's some people that actually get on my nerves. You know, but I don't like someone for no reason. There's a reason why I don't like someone. You know, there were some people that didn't like me as I was growing up because of what they heard other people say about me. They didn't actually know me. Some of these people have never had a conversation with me, but they've assessed me. They formed an opinion of me based on what other people have said. Now, you being true to yourself instead of trying to fit in means, for me, that you don't have to copy what they're doing. If you want to dye your hair yellow, dye your hair yellow. If you don't like a particular type of music, you don't have to. I remember one time, well, a few times actually, we were at a family function, and although I grew up with reggae being played all the time, like my dad was a proper music buff, I do not like reggae, never have, never will. But you know, there's functions that I've been to, as soon as reggae comes on, if I'm dancing, as soon as reggae comes on, I'll sit down and I'll get the dirtiest looks. It's like, but you're supposed to like that. You're black. Your parents are Jamaican. Like, why you sat down? I sit down because I don't like that music. What's your issue? I don't have to fit in. I don't have to like what you like. I'm being true to myself. I don't like it. What? How does that offend you? How does that actually offend you? Number two, set healthy boundaries. What does that mean? You know, you've got some people that think that they can just, that they just assume that they can come into your space and take from you because in the past you've always said yes. But you've reached a point now where you're not going to say yes to everything. You're not going to say yes to everyone. And you have to set healthy boundaries. I remember when I first started seeing my daughter's dad, before we got married, obviously, he asked me for my phone number when we first met, and I gave him my actual phone number because I'm not into this playing games business. You know, as far as I'm concerned, if he was going to harass me or do anything, all I need to do is get BT to change my number. What's the big deal? So I remember we talked about this like fairly soon afterwards, but I remember I was at home on a Friday evening, and on a Friday evening when I get home, I like to chill, relax. I don't really like to be disturbed. So I can't remember what I was watching on the TV, but this is when landlines were, you know, before we had mobiles how they are now. My landline was ringing, and for some reason I knew it was him. And because I didn't want to speak to anyone, I didn't answer the phone. So I spoke to him the next day, and he said that, where were you last night? I said I was at home. He says, oh, well, I tried ringing you last night. I said, yeah, I thought it was you. He said, how come you didn't answer the phone? I said, because I didn't want to. Conversation finished, because I'm not going to lie and say that, yeah, I would make up some excuse and say, yeah, I was out. I wasn't out. I was at home. Why are we afraid to say what we really feel? I mean, there's obviously a time and a place, and the person's feelings may get hurt, but at the end of the day, if I don't want to be disturbed, why should I lie about that? And he didn't take offense. He just laughed because it was so, I guess it was so shocking to him that I would just come out and say that. But I am known for my bluntness. I'm known for my directness. Not because I want to be rude, but I want people to understand you can't just have access to me like that. I will why don't you access when I feel like it, otherwise access denied. And that's just how it is. I am unapologetic in how I am, because I know who I am. I don't have to apologize for who I am. I'm not about to compromise myself just to make you feel comfortable. And that's what I was doing in my late teens and early 20s, and it got to the stage where enough was enough. Number 3, stop making excuses. So as I've just said, I gave you the example of my former husband, how our relationship was at the very beginning, because I wanted to make sure he understood, this is me. If you don't like me, we finish this now and you go and find yourself someone else. Of course I wanted the relationship to work, but not at the expense of my peace. If you understand me as a person, you will understand that my peace is paramount. I will not compromise that for anyone. I won't, because that is now on a slippery slope to mental illness, as far as I'm concerned, because I've sacrificed my peace before, and that's what happened, to the point where I then had to take medication for depression. I'm not going to go back there again. So don't make excuses. If there's something that you don't want to do, just say, no, I don't want to do that. Don't make excuses. If the person has a problem with it, that's their issue, not yours. You don't have to make excuses. You don't have to lie if you don't want to do something. If they've asked you to do something, just politely say no. And you don't even have to give an explanation. Why are you explaining yourself? Number 4, listen to your inner voice. You know, when someone asks you to do something and your internal voice is saying, no, I don't want to do it, but then your mouth says something different. You've committed yourself to something, but all the time you're feeling resentful. Do you know what that resentment is doing to your physiology? You start to feel anxious, you start to feel stressed, because you know you did not want to do this thing, but because you wanted to please that person, you said yes. Listen to your inner voice. Listen. It's there for a reason. Spend some time alone. I love spending time alone, and I think that's partly why I left home and bought this property. Not because things were great at home, but I just thought to myself, as an adult, as a young adult, in order for me to know how I am as a person, I need to get to know myself before I enter into a long-term relationship, before I get married, before I have children. I need to spend a considerable amount of time on my own. In that flat, I spent 5 years by myself, and I actually came to the conclusion that I like myself. I like being me. It was great. Could come and go as I please, didn't have to answer to anyone, come in as late as I want, stay out as long as I want. I know the things that I do like, I know the things that I didn't like, and I would advise any young woman watching this video today, if you are in a position where you can spend a considerable amount of time on your own before you move in with your boyfriend, before you get married, before you even think about having kids, if you are single, don't look at it as a negative time. Look at it as a very positive time in your life, because this is when you will get to know yourself. If it's not a thing where you want to live on your own, that's fine, but make time, schedule time in your diary where you are just by yourself. If it means that you take yourself off for a weekend break in the countryside somewhere, or if you book a spa day on your own, if you want to go to the cinema on your own, if you want to go and eat in a restaurant on your own. I've done all of these things, and I'm telling you, it enriches your life so much. And as I've said, this channel is all about enhancing, enriching and elevating all aspects of your life. So I encourage you to do that. Spend time on your own, because you will get to know yourself. The concept itself sounds strange because it's like, how do you get to know yourself? But when you're by yourself, you're not influenced by what other people are doing. You're not influenced by what other people like. You're not influenced by the films that other people want to watch. You're not influenced by the type of music that other people like to listen to. I know there's people that don't like seafood. When we're out in a restaurant, they're like, oh, how can you eat shrimp? Very easily, because I like it. I don't question what you eat. Why are you questioning what I eat? You know, my favourite drink is Aperol Spritz. You know, some people don't like the taste of it. I love it. And what's the issue? Spending time alone gives you a chance to reflect on your self-development. It allows you to think about things that you may wish you would have done differently. It gives you that headspace to process what's gone on, you know, in the day or in that week, and think, okay, if I was put in that position, maybe I would have done it differently. I would have made this decision instead of that decision. When you're surrounded by noise and people making demands on you and saying that what they want you to do for them, you never get that chance to self-reflect. So spending time by yourself is very necessary. Number 6, remember that you can't please everyone. It seems so obvious to say that you can't please everyone. What's that saying? You can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all of the time. And, you know, fundamentally, that is correct. You can't please all the people all the time, and you shouldn't aim to please all the people all the time. Who's trying to please you all the time? Is there anyone? If they are, it's very unhealthy. Your aim in life should not be to please everybody all the time. Obviously, there are certain situations where you want to make that person feel special, like your partner, you know, or you want your children to feel loved. You want to please them. You want to do things for them that make them feel wanted, them feel special. Well, there are certain levels to that. When you're trying to please someone at the expense of your own satisfaction or your own peace, that's when it becomes a problem, because you're now sacrificing your happiness for that of the other person. That's not healthy. That's not healthy. Number 7, learn to be assertive and stand up for yourself. Yes, I've had to learn to do that. And that came when I decided, what's the worst that can happen? If I disagree with this person, what's the worst that can happen? 99.9% of the time, they've not wanted to chop my head off. In fact, they've respected me more because I've disagreed with what they've said. What I find, and what is off-putting to me, is when I said something and the person that I've said it to, we've had many conversations and they agree with me every single time. I want to know what your opinion is. If you think I'm doing something wrong, I want you to tell me. I don't want you to agree with my action. If I've, in your mind, done something that you're thinking, oh, that's a bit questionable, I want you to tell me. Don't agree with me if you don't think it's agreeable. If you're my friend, or if you're someone close to me, you should be able to hold me accountable for the things that I've done, and I should be able to hold you accountable for the things that you've done. And that's where learning to have your own voice in situations is invaluable, because you are an individual, you're a human being, you're here for a reason. You have a voice and you need to learn how to use it. You need to be assertive, you need to stand up for yourself. Number 8, ask others for help. I must admit, I'm one that struggles to ask people for help because of trust. I can't say that I have trust issues, but I find it difficult to trust people based on past experiences, and I guess that's something that I still have to work on. My circle is extremely small. I can think of, apart from my family members, my immediate family, I can think of about 4 people that I would ask for help. Yeah, about 4 people that I would ask for help. And if I go to any of those people for help, they know that I need help. They know that I need help, because I'm not the one, you know, I'm not the one who, that's not my first port of call. Things have to get quite bad for me to now reach out and ask you for help, and that's something that I treasure these people for, because invariably they know, I know that I can call them during times of need, and literally they can do the same with me. That's a relationship that we have. So when you need help, always ask for it, because although we came into the world on our own, we can't survive on our own. Number 9, accept yourself. Yes, and this is where spending time by yourself comes in, because when you spend time on your own, you learn to accept and appreciate yourself with all your flaws, with all your quirks, with all your shortcomings. You learn to accept yourself. You learn to accept the fact that you will never be perfect on this earth. You will never be perfect. But that's what makes you you. And that's why the people that like you, warts and all. Learn to accept yourself. Number 10, be more honest about your feelings. I guess that ties into, I think it's number 3, stop making excuses. I guess those can sort of overlap. Being honest about your feelings, yeah, that's a hard one, because you don't want to hurt the feelings of the other person. You don't want to offend the other person. But in order to be your true self, sometimes you have to be very honest with your feelings, even if it's a hard thing for the other person to hear. But again, you being honest with your feelings will elicit a level of respect from that other person, because they're like, okay, well, I can trust her feelings, because she knows that I don't want to hear this, but she's actually being very honest right now, and I respect her for that. So being honest with your feelings, yeah, that is a way, that is one of the ways to stop being a people pleaser, because the person you're trying to please, if you are honest, they've asked you to do something and you said to them, I would like to do this for you, but I don't want to do it for you. Not right now, because like I said, you don't have to give an explanation. I don't want to do it for you. I don't want to do this. If they do ask for an explanation, you give your explanation. Again, you don't have to lie about it. If it makes you feel uncomfortable doing what they've asked you to do, say that it's made you feel uncomfortable. But just be honest with your feelings, because honesty is very lacking nowadays, and it's refreshing. I'd rather you be honest with me, even though I may not want to hear it. I would rather you be honest with me than lie to me just to make me feel good in that moment. Number 11, don't dwell on your past. I think I'm quite good at this because I'm always forward looking. Yeah, I obviously remember things from my past, but I don't dwell there, because if I did, my life would be really rubbish right now. Because I think about all the things that were done to me that were negative, all the things that were said about me that were negative, and you know, they would impact me today. But I can honestly say that because I don't dwell in the past, I'm very free and I'm very happy. the way that I see it, you should be looking forward to more golden periods in your life. You should be looking forward to the next phase of your life. My 20s were my 20s when I was traveling. My 30s were my 30s when I got married and settled down and had a child. My 40s were my 40s when I'd gone through a divorce. My 50s now, I'm looking forward to the next phase because I know there's big things that are going to happen. Always looking forward. I don't dwell in the past. I remember the past, but I don't live there anymore. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't benefit me. It's life. Life has its ups and downs. I'm looking forward to the rest of my life, however long that is. You know, however long that is, I don't know. But I'm just looking forward. You know, it's a privilege for me to get older because I know that there's people that, you know, in their 30s, even at the beginning of this year, so many young people that have just ended their life because, you know, there was one instance apparently where this girl, I'm not even going to say her name because the story is so sad, like she jumped out of the window apparently because she hit 30, and in her industry 30 was too old. And this, I think she went through a stage where she needed to please, she felt she needed to please people. On the face of it, her life was golden. In her mind, it was something completely different, if you believe all the reports. I mean, it's not my business. You know, I'd just be speculating like everyone else. But if you are trying to conform and live up to the expectations of others at the expense of your happiness and your peace, then that's a dangerous place to be. You can't dwell on the past because the past is not coming back. You know, I say often that even God himself can't change the past. You know, God can do many, many things, but he can't lie and he can't change the past. And when you realize that dwelling in the past is just taking the time that you have now, it's actually sucking the time that you have now, then you understand that dwelling in the past is of no benefit to you or the people that you care about. Number 12, make yourself a priority. Making yourself a priority in the minds of some people means that you're being selfish. And when they say that, I like to use the example of when you're on a plane. You know, when they do the safety demonstration, the majority of us don't usually take notice of that. So you've got the cabin crew doing the demonstration, they've got the full life jacket and they're going through the safety card, etc. When I first started to travel, the thing that fascinated me about that demonstration, the thing that made me prick up my ears, was when they talked about the oxygen mask that drops down from above, and they said, before you put it on anyone else, before you put it on your kids, make sure you put it on your own face first. And the very first time I heard that, that didn't make sense to me, because I thought, wow, that's really selfish. You know, what about the kids? But then I realized that if you don't prioritize your safety first, how are you going to help these kids? How are you going to help your husband, your partner, whoever's traveling with you? How are you going to help them? Because you're not having the oxygen to breathe. So how are you going to help them? And that's why you need to make yourself a priority. So when you translate that into what we're talking about today, making yourself a priority is not selfish. And again, if we want to talk about kids, I had always said that when I have kids, they're not going to take away from my life. They're going to be an addition to my life. Obviously, I'm going to have to make adjustments here and there, but they're not going to turn my life upside down so that I now resent having them. That was never part of my plan. I always said that if I have kids, they're going to be a welcome addition to my life. There will never be an inconvenience. In order for me to be the best mother that I can be, I have to take time out for myself. And my daughter understood this a long time ago. So she's very understanding when it comes to things like this, because I encourage her to do the same. If she needs to take time away from me, if she needs to take time away from her dad, her friends, and just be by herself, I encourage her to do that, because I want her to be the best person that she can be. And it's like another analogy where we're talking about cars. In order for a car to run effectively, take away the fact that these vehicles are now going electric. Let's leave that to one side. In order for a car to run effectively, it needs petrol. If that car is running on empty, it will get to a stage where it stops running altogether. The priority needs to be for you to put fuel in your tank. However you want to do that, whether that means you going away and reading a book in a different room for about an hour or so, or going for a run, going for a swim, going for a massage, going for a spa day, you need to be able to make yourself a priority at all costs. You know, life is about balance. And in order for you to be the best person that you can be, in order for you to know yourself as a person, you need to make yourself a priority. And that's a whole world away from being selfish. Selfish is a completely different thing. We're not talking about selfishness. We're talking about balance. We're talking about enrichment. We're talking about enhancement. We're talking about elevation. In order to make yourself a priority, you need to extricate yourself from a situation in order to recharge, refuel, rejuvenate. So when you come back, you are of benefit, not just to yourself, but to the ones who care about you and who you care about. Finally, number 13, make yourself happy. That's a bit of a generic statement, but making yourself happy. I'm reminded of a conversation that my former husband and I had when we first got together, and he said to me, Chez, all I want to do is make you happy. And I appreciated it, but I turned around and said to him, and some of you are going to like, well, how could you say that? I said to him, it's not your responsibility to make me happy, it's mine. And I meant that, and I still mean that, because I cannot afford to look outside to other people to make me happy. I was not up for that. As much as I understood what he said, he meant when he said that, at its very fundamental level, I didn't want him to think that it was his job to make me happy internally. I know what he meant. He wanted to make me happy in terms of making sure that I was comfortable financially, you know, in our home. But for me, as Chez, internally, I'm the only one that can make myself happy. I cannot afford for external people outside of myself to do that, because the day that I do that, I know I'm going to set myself up for disappointment and downfall, basically. So making yourself happy, whatever form that takes, as long as it's not hurting you or the people around you, or it's not illegal, or it's not immoral. I don't know what that means for you. I know that it means I know what that means for me. It means small things. It means walking in the park. It means grabbing a cup of coffee, like with a good book. You know, I might go to Starbucks or something and sit down for an hour and read a book. It might mean me going to the cinema to watch a film that I've wanted to see for a long time and no one else is around. These things make me happy. Small things. Big things make me happy too. You know, I'm looking forward to the day when I can travel first class. That's going to make me happy. You know, so it's all relative. It's all what that means to you. In conclusion, I hope this video has been useful. I hope you've taken something away from it, and yeah, how not to be a people pleaser. People are struggling with this all the time. People that I know are still struggling with this. But you know, if I've helped you in any way, I hope I have. Please click like, hit subscribe, smash the notification bell to see more chit chats with Chez. Thank you for stopping by today. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.